Hey guys, Bro here, and today we're taking a look at the Supreme Leader Snoke Throne Room Deluxe Edition exclusive Black Series figure from GameStop. So this guy has been kind of a pain point for a lot of folks lately. He went up for pre-order on Force Friday and then just kind of had his release date pushed further and further back. People in the UK started getting him. Then they started getting shipments out in the US, and then people got hold emails where things were going to be delayed. A buddy of mine managed to get two shipped to him, and one of them was not for me. It was for another friend who is a stickler for packaging, and he passed this one off to me. So I am taking a look at it for you today. And as you can see, GameStop in their great packaging ways really mucked this one up here. But I don't care, he's coming out of the box. This is our standard kind of Black Series look. Nothing too crazy here. We've got Snoke on his throne in the window. We've got some artwork. We've got a big dent. We've got no number because he's exclusive. We have got a little bit of a write-up here, which kind of reads really funny. It almost makes him sound kind of like a Wizard of Oz type character. You'll have to check that out and pause it if you want to take a look now. And we got that same artwork here as well. And then his name on the side. So let's take this guy out. All right, so here is Snoke out of the box with the throne assembled. And I say assembled because it does have another piece. This part here is something you have to plug in, so you can pull it out and pop it back in. This is the section that is going to attach to the Kylo Ren Deluxe set that's coming, the Walmart exclusive Kylo Ren. So he's got the remaining portion of like the floor basically for Snoke's throne room. I am pretty happy with this thing. You know, it's an interesting figure. There's an interesting design going on here. Interesting everything. I'm going to move Snoke aside for a second just to talk about the throne really quickly. Just because, you know, it makes up the other $20 of the purchase here, so it's worth talking about. So we've got a pretty big hunk of plastic here. It is a few inches deep. It's 7 or 8 inches tall. There is a lot of sculpt here. There's a lot of paint on it too. Not tons, but there's a lot. One thing that I know people have pointed out is we've got the kind of dueling colors here. We've got blue on this side and we've got red on this side. Could be a light dark side thing. I'm betting it's not. But people always read into everything because this is Star Wars. The only thing that I really don't like about this is that I feel like this could be a little deeper. It is very shallow. It really seems like it's meant for a smaller figure, and Snoke is really tall. So, I think he's probably one of the biggest. He's definitely one of the biggest Black Series figures. So he can't. It's not like it causes a problem for him to sit in it, but I feel like if it was maybe half an inch deeper, he would sit in it a little bit better. So there's a lot of sculpt on here. There's paint all over it. We've got different shades of gray and black. We've got the sculpted kind of what looks like a cushion for Snoke's old butt to sit in, and we've got some more paint on the side. There's a lot of sculpt on the back, which I'm not entirely sure why they needed to do this. I am never going to have this shown in my display. I imagine most people won't either. There is no paint back here that I can tell. It's all just molded gray plastic. But you can take it off if you want. I don't know if it can't fit into your display, maybe something like that. It just unscrews off. But yeah, I think it's a really nice piece. And ultimately, I think for what we have to pay extra, this is a $40 set. I think, for 20 extra bucks, you're getting a lot of plastic for that money. All right, now as far as Snoke himself goes, this figure is interesting. He's weird, but I think he's executed really well. Tons of detail. Obviously, he's got a very interesting soft goods robe. Quite a bit of paint on him, and then he has a little bit different articulation than we're used to. I'm going to talk a bit about the soft goods real quick just to get it out of the way. So obviously he's covered in this kind of mustard yellow with gold thread robe, and I think it looks pretty well. It hangs decently on the figure. It is connected to him at the collar with this soft piece of plastic that it's glued to, so you can move it around, but you really don't take it off. And then of course he has this rubbery gold belt that hangs down, and it just pegs around his waist. I'm going to remove it here in just a second. But I do think the robe looks nice. I do think it is a weird design. It's a big gold robe. Is it a bathrobe? What's behind this throne? Is it his jacuzzi tub that Kylo Ren soaks him in every night? What's going on here? He just looks weird. He's a different character. This doesn't scream Star Wars to me when I see him, but at the same time, I want to know more. So, like I said, you can take the belts off. I'm going to do that just to get it out of the way. You can see it is just a piece of rubbery plastic. Red on the, it's cast in red, and then it's painted with the kind of gold metallic paint. A lot of sculpted detail on it though. So I guess they spare no expense for the Supreme Leader. We'll set that aside for a second. The robe, like I said, you can move it all around, but you really can't take it off unless you remove this piece here. You can roll the sleeves up. They'll go pretty far up, about to the bicep area, so you can get in there and see his arms, which, there's a lot of detail going on here. But underneath, you have this interesting kind of pajama type setup that I hope to God we see in the movie. I really want to see him in some sort of, you know, geriatric nursing home facility or something for old Force users, because you got to admit, this is weird. And I know a lot of people were really, really confused when when pictures of this started coming out, of what in the world is this guy wearing? Or is it a woman? Maybe Snoke's a lady. Who knows? So we're going to go over the figure, do articulation and paint and all that stuff. So the head is on what might be a double ball peg. It's got some interesting movement to it. It kind of rocks side to side. And then it can rotate all the way around. It also can move forwards and back. Not a lot, but he can kind of move it, jut his head forward a little bit. He doesn't have any real up or down motion though. And that's going to be partly due to this little collar piece back here. The back of the head hits that. The arms can go all the way out, all around. Watch the soft goods when you're doing that, because they're going to get stuck in those joints the more you move them. They can rotate all the way around. There is a bicep swivel on this guy. He has double jointed elbows. It's an ugly joint, but they're there. And, he's covered in soft goods. So just like with, Farm Boy Luke, he gets it because you can't see it. He has a hinge and rotation at the wrist. And then he's got a diaphragm joint, which can give him rotation, but not any real kind of bob back and forth. Legs are just kind of a T-joint, so they don't really do a whole lot. They can go forward just fine, which is useful for the throne, but he doesn't really have any outward motion. He doesn't really need it either. He can go back a little bit, though. We've got a thigh cut. He's got a double joint at the knee. Again, another ugly joint, but it's going to be hidden by the robe. There is nothing at the shin, and then he's got a rocker and a hinge down at his little slippers there. So he's got a lot of articulation, all things considered. As far as the sculpt and paint on this guy, I think that's really where he kind of shines, just because there is so much to work with. We've kind of said over and over and over again that Hasbro nails anything that's not a general human. And while Snoke is humanoid, we don't know if he's a human or not, he is different enough that they were able to kind of run wild with all the details on that head sculpt. And I mean, the head is truly where he shines. It is, as far as I can tell, pretty much perfect. Tons of detail, the scars and the wrinkles and just the general nastiness of his neck and throat and that jawline. I think they absolutely killed this head sculpt, and there's a lot of paint on there. They threw a ton of different kind of flesh tones and pinks and just lighter hues of the same kind of colors dry brushed onto that face to really bring out all that sculpted detail. The only thing that kind of looks wonky are the eyes, but they look pretty good. I mean, obviously they're supposed to be wonky because he's got that one jacked up left eye, but the paint is a little different. It's far more vibrant than the rest, but it doesn't detract for me, and I think it looks really, really cool. I think he looks just as nasty and evil as you would expect him to be at this point. He obviously has more kind of deformities to him. We just can't see it. His arms kind of lead you to believe that there's definitely something wrong with this guy. He has a lot of different hues on the arms, just like with the head sculpt. So they did more dry brushing and more paint and more kind of wrinkles on the arms. You can see he's kind of gaunt and thin and wafy. So they really went to town as far as the sculpt on him, and I'm pretty happy. We've got the mysterious ring on his left hand here, which is rumored to be a kyber crystal. We'll see. I don't know. If it is a lightsaber crystal and he's wearing it on a ring on his hand, I mean, come on, that's a little Spaceballs for me. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure that's what it is. That's just asking for people to make fun of that, if that's truly what it comes out to be. But who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We will find out soon enough, I suppose. There is a lot of wrinkles sculpted into the tunic that he's wearing, mostly just the top. There are some down towards the shins and the knees, but for the most part, there's a lot of sculpted line work all over the chest area, which looks really good. And then you come down to the slippers, which for feet, for shoes, these might be the most detailed thing in all of Black Series. They are loaded with little bits of sculpted detail all over. There's not a single part of these shoes, of these slippers, that aren't covered in sculpted detail. I think they did a good job for what they are. You may not see them too much if you've got the robes on them, but they do look really, really good. So overall, I'm 100% satisfied with this figure, with this set. I think the throne is really necessary. I don't think I would want Snoke just standing on a shelf. He needs to be sitting down. He needs to look imposing. And, this is something that we needed with the Emperor, to be honest. Obviously not this one, but his chair from Return of the Jedi. But for Snoke, this really elevates him to a different level of figure for me, and I am happy that I got a hold of him. Definitely worth the $40 total price tag on this set. The figure itself is easily worth $20 alone. Tons of detail, tons of sculpt. He's a bigger figure to begin with. We don't get any accessories with the figure itself, but at the end of the day, we don't know that we need any yet. So again, I couldn't really be much happier with this than I am right now. So that is going to do it for this look at the Black Series Snoke with Throne from Hasbro. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.